Do not scroll, do not skip. Because what brought you to this message right now is not something you can fully explain, and that is exactly the point. There is a pull that happens when heaven has something specific to say to a specific person, and that pull bypasses logic and reaches something deeper. You felt it, that is why you are here. And what Archangel Michael is about to speak over your life is going to reach into a moment you may not have even fully registered at the time it happened. A moment where you did something, said something, gave something, showed up in some way that felt ordinary to you, but was anything but ordinary in the realm where heaven keeps record. Stay right here, because what you did without knowing the full weight of it was seen, and what is coming back to you because of it is going to change everything. Something is being returned to you. Not in the general sense that good things eventually come around, in the specific sense that heaven tracks acts of genuine kindness with a precision that no human accounting system could replicate. Every time you gave when giving cost you something. Every time you showed up for someone when showing up required more of you than they knew. Every time you extended something real, something from the actual interior of who you are, to a person who needed it at a moment when they needed it most. All of it is on record, and the return on it is loading right now in a way that is going to be proportional to something you did not think was significant at the time. Do not move, stay until the very end, because the specific revelation about what you did and what it set in motion is still ahead. There are moments in a life that look small from the outside, that register as ordinary in the accounting of a regular day. You helped someone who was struggling. You said the right thing at the right time to a person who was about to make a decision that would have cost them everything. You stayed when leaving would have been easier. You gave something, time or resources or presence or words, to someone who had no way to give you anything back, and you did not think twice about it, because giving is simply what you do. You noticed someone that everyone else walked past. You stopped when stopping was inconvenient. You offered something real when a performance of care would have been sufficient, and no one would have known the difference. You did not register these moments as significant. You were not filing them under acts of spiritual consequence. You were simply being who you are, the person who notices, the person who stops, the person whose instinct in the presence of need is toward rather than away, the person who gives from a genuine place without calculating the return, because calculating the return has never been the nature of how you love, but heaven registered them, every single one. And among them there is one that heaven has been building a response to that is larger than anything you would have expected from the moment that generated it, a moment where without knowing it, without any awareness of the spiritual weight of what you were doing, you helped someone who was carrying more than a human burden, someone who was in a crisis that went deeper than what was visible, someone whose situation, had it continued on the trajectory it was on when you encountered it, would have cost them something irreplaceable, and you interrupted that trajectory. Simply by being you, simply by doing what you do. Stay with me. Do not scroll. Archangel Michael says, this is the message your spirit has been waiting to receive. Do not skip. The concept of entertaining angels without knowing it is not a metaphor. It is a description of something that happens in the natural world with a regularity that would astonish most people if they could see it clearly. Heaven deploys, not just in supernatural appearances and dramatic interventions, in quiet assignments, in the placement of a person with a specific kind of heart at a specific location at a specific time, when another person carrying a burden they cannot carry alone needs exactly what that person with that specific kind of heart is able to offer. You have been that person, more than once. But there is one specific time that Archangel Michael is speaking about right now. One encounter that you moved through without understanding what was actually happening in the invisible realm around it. The person you encountered was not only who they appeared to be, they were carrying an assignment that had been damaged by the weight of what they were going through. And the damage to the assignment was damage to something that extended beyond their individual life into the lives of the people their assignment was supposed to reach. When you showed up in that moment, when you offered what you offered, you did not just help a person, you stabilized an assignment, you restored something that was close to being lost entirely. And the ripple effect of that restoration extends in directions you will never fully see from where you stand. people who were reached because the person you helped was able to continue, situations that were resolved because the assignment you stabilized could keep moving, lives that were touched because the chain of consequence that your moment of genuine kindness set in motion kept moving long after you walked away and returned to your ordinary day. God took notice, not in the way that a distant observer takes notice of something interesting, in the way that a parent notices when a child does something that reveals the depth of who they actually are, with a specific kind of recognition that is both deeply personal and cosmically consequential. And what follows that kind of divine noticing is not a footnote in the record, it is an activation, a movement in heaven toward the person who demonstrated in an unguarded moment the quality of heart that heaven is always looking for in the people it is about to entrust with something significant. Do not scroll, stay right here. The word about what is coming for you because of what you did is still being released. Do not miss it. I want to speak to something about the nature of who you are that made that moment possible, because it was not an accident that you were the one who stopped. It was not circumstance that placed someone with your specific kind of heart at that specific location at that specific time. You were placed there, deliberately, because heaven knew what you would do when you arrived, because the qualities in you that produced that response, the genuine compassion, the instinct toward others, the willingness to give from a real place without performing the giving, are qualities that heaven specifically cultivates in the people it is preparing for expanded assignment. You have always been this way, not perfectly, not without moments where tiredness or pain or preoccupation meant you did not respond as fully as your deepest nature would have, but in the essential shape of your character, in the default direction of your heart. When you encounter need, you move toward. You have always moved toward, even when moving toward cost you something, even when the person you moved toward could not give you anything back, even when the giving went unacknowledged or was taken for granted or was received without the recognition that the fullness of what you offered deserved. That quality is not common. It appears common because it is quietly present in you and you carry it without announcement. But encountering someone who gives from a genuinely full and unperforming place is rarer than the world acknowledges. And heaven has been watching the consistency of it in you across many seasons and many situations, not to compile a record that earns you something, but because what heaven is preparing to release into your life requires a person with exactly this quality of heart to carry it without being corrupted by it. Big assignments attract big opposition. Significant elevation attracts significant temptation. And the temptation that arrives with elevation is toward the very quality that made the elevation possible in the first place, toward closing the hand that was open, toward calculating where it was once instinctive, toward measuring where it once simply gave. Heaven needs to know that the heart it is elevating will remain the heart it elevated, and the evidence gathered across every unguarded moment of genuine giving is the most reliable evidence available. Your record is solid, and your elevation is secured. To receive what Archangel Michael is releasing over your life in this moment, go to the comments and write "I give and I am covered." Let that declaration be the seal on what heaven is confirming over you today. Do it now, and then stay with me, because the specific dimensions of what is coming are still being revealed. Let me tell you what is coming back to you, because the return on what you did is specific, and it is significant, and it is arriving in a season when it is going to be most meaningful. The first dimension of what is returning is provision that arrives through unexpected channels. You have needs. Some of them you have been carrying quietly for a while. Some of them feel too large for the resources currently available to you. Some of them have produced a background anxiety that you manage but do not fully resolve because the gap between what is needed and what is visible has not closed. That gap is about to close, not through the channels you have been watching and waiting for movement in, through channels that you were not tracking, through connections and circumstances and arrangements that are going to come together in a way that produces provision at the level of what is actually needed and not just partial relief. The provision is not coming because you earned it through strategic behavior. It is coming because heaven honors the person who gives genuinely and without calculation with resources that match the genuineness of what they gave. You gave from your real place. The return comes from heaven's real place, and heaven's resources are not subject to the limitations of the channels you can see. The second dimension of what is returning is protection that becomes visible. You have been protected in ways you did not know you were being protected. Situations that could have gone wrong that did not. Encounters that could have produced serious damage that resolved in ways you attributed to luck or coincidence. Paths that could have taken you somewhere that would have cost you your assignment, that curved in a different direction at the last moment. That protection has been real, and it has been consistent, and it has been directly connected to the account that was being built by the quality of your giving across the seasons of your life. In this coming season, the protection is going to become more visible. You are going to have moments where you can see clearly that something was covering you, where the evidence of intervention is specific enough that gratitude is the only reasonable response, where what you walked through without damage becomes a testimony not just about your own resilience, but about the active covering of a God who takes seriously the protection of people who take seriously the care of others. The third dimension of what is returning is connection with people who carry the same quality of heart. One of the specific costs of being someone who gives genuinely is the loneliness that can accompany it. The experience of giving fully to people who receive well, but do not carry the same instinct to give in return. The relational asymmetry that develops when your heart is oriented outward and the people around you are more inwardly directed. The absence of the specific experience of being on the receiving end of the same quality of care that you extend so naturally to others. That absence is ending. The people who are being moved toward you in this season carry the same essential quality of heart that you carry. They will give to you the way you give to others, without calculation, without performance, from a genuinely full and generous place. And experiencing that, being on the receiving end of genuine care from people whose giving is real, is going to be one of the most significant healings of this season. It is going to fill something that has been quietly empty for longer than you have fully acknowledged. Do not move. The final word is coming, and it is the most important word in this entire message. Stay until the very end. I want to tell you about the angel, about what that encounter actually was from heaven's perspective, because understanding it is going to reframe something significant about how you see your own life, and your own impact, and your own place in the larger story that God is writing through the people who carry hearts like yours. When heaven needs something done in the natural world, it works through people. Not through dramatic supernatural events alone, through people, through the placement of a person with a specific capacity at a specific moment to accomplish something specific that could not be accomplished any other way in that moment. The person being used does not always know they are being used. They simply respond to what is in front of them from the deepest available truth of who they are. And in that response, heaven accomplishes what it needed to accomplish. You were used in that way. The person you helped was in a crisis that extended beyond their personal circumstances into the realm of their assignment. The discouragement they were carrying, the weight that had accumulated from a season of difficulty and opposition, had brought them to a place where continuing felt impossible, where the assignment that had been placed in them felt like it might have been a mistake, where the forward motion of their calling had slowed to something that was barely movement at all. And then you appeared, with exactly what was needed. Not a grand intervention, something real and specific and human, a moment of genuine connection, words that reached the actual place, presence that communicated something that the person needed to receive in that moment more than they needed almost anything else, that they were seen, that they were not alone, that what they were carrying was worth continuing to carry. You restored something. You did not know you were restoring it. But the person walked away from that encounter with something they did not have before you arrived, a renewed orientation toward their assignment, a restored belief that what they had been given to do was worth the cost of continuing to do it, a sense that heaven was still present and active in their story, even in the middle of the season that had felt most like abandonment. And they continued, and the assignment continued. And the people reached by the assignment were reached because you stopped on an ordinary day and gave something real. God took notice of that, not as an entry in a ledger, as a recognition of a heart that operates from a depth that heaven itself values. as an identification of someone whose instinct toward genuine care makes them not just a recipient of blessing, but a carrier of it. A person through whom heaven can work, not just in dramatic moments of calling and assignment, but in ordinary encounters on ordinary days that turn out to be anything but ordinary. You are that person. You have always been that person. And the season that is coming is the season where heaven honors the person you have consistently been in the moments that no one was watching, and in the encounters that you never thought to mention because they did not seem significant enough to mention. They were significant, heaven saw them, and the return on them is arriving now. I want to speak now to what this means for your identity going forward, because the revelation that you saved someone without knowing it is not only a message about the past, it is a message about who you are, and therefore about what you are capable of and what you are being prepared to carry. You are someone through whom heaven moves, not occasionally, consistently. In the background of your ordinary days there have been more of these moments than you are aware of, more encounters where your presence and your response and your genuine offering of what you carry shifted something in the invisible realm that produced effects in the visible realm long after you were gone. You have been functioning as a carrier of heaven's care in the world without a full understanding of the scope of what that means or the weight of what it has been producing. The coming season is going to bring that function into fuller awareness, not in a way that inflates your ego or causes you to perform what was previously natural, but in a way that helps you operate with greater intentionality in the spaces where heaven is placing you. You are going to begin to recognize the moments that carry weight before they fully reveal their weight. You are going to develop a sensitivity to the people in your path who are carrying more than what is visible. You are going to find yourself guided toward encounters that look ordinary but are appointments, and in those appointments you are going to know with a greater clarity what is being asked of you and what you carry that is specifically relevant to the moment. This is the upgrade that comes with the recognition. Not just provision and protection and connection, though all of those are coming, but an expansion of the capacity through which heaven moves in your ordinary life, an increase in the precision with which you recognize what is happening in the moments that matter, a deepening of the intuition that has always been present in you, but is about to become more clear and more reliable and more consequential. You were made for this. The heart that stopped on the ordinary day and gave something real that saved someone without knowing it is the heart that is being prepared for a larger version of the same work, more visible sometimes, more intentional, but rooted in the same essential quality that has always been your signature. Genuine care given without calculation from a place that does not run dry because it is connected to a source that does not run dry. Share this message with someone who gives quietly and without announcement, someone who does not track the record of their own generosity because tracking it has never been the motivation for it. Someone who needs to hear that what they do in the ordinary moments of an ordinary life is registered by heaven with a specificity and a care that exceeds anything they would assign to their own actions. When you carry this word for others, Archangel Michael carries your breakthrough forward. Subscribe to this channel so that you never miss another word released through this space for your season. Heaven is speaking specifically, and you want to be positioned to receive every word prepared for your name. My beloved child, you stayed until the end, and in staying you received a confirmation that your spirit has needed for a long time. Not a confirmation of your performance or your achievement or your faithfulness measured by visible markers. A confirmation of something deeper, of the quality of your heart in the unguarded moments, of the instinct that moves you toward rather than away when someone needs what you carry, of the genuine and unperforming nature of the care that you extend to people whose circumstances pull at something real in you. That is what was noticed. That is what was registered. That is what set in motion the return that is now arriving in your life, because the quality of heart you carry is exactly the quality that heaven is looking for in the people it is preparing to elevate into expanded assignment. And the evidence across every unguarded moment of genuine giving is the most reliable confirmation that the elevation is safe. You saved someone without knowing it. You restored an assignment that was close to ending. You showed up for a moment that was larger than it appeared, and God took notice. Now watch what God does with someone whose heart heaven has been watching and has confirmed is ready for what is coming. The provision is loading, the protection is active, the connections are forming, the recognition is coming, the elevation is happening, and the angel you helped without knowing it is still moving in their assignment because you stopped on an ordinary day and gave something real. That is who you are. And who you are is about to change everything about what your life looks like.